Harvey Weinstein's retrial in New York on rape and sex assault is set to get back to work deciding the fate of the disgraced movie mogul Monday. The 7 women and 5 men began deliberating Thursday. On Friday, a 25-year-old male juror asked to be removed from the case, telling the judge other jurors were treating a member of their panel in an unfair and unjust way. But the judge told him to keep deliberating. The judge also denying a mistrial request from Weinstein's lawyers, saying this is nothing other than normal tensions during heated deliberations. Also on Friday, the jury asked for a readback from Weinstein's 3 accusers. The 73-year-old pled not guilty and said any sex was consensual. Julie Walker, New York.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, we'll see a mixture of clouds and sunshine developing, a chance for some scattered afternoon showers and storms with highs in the mid-70s. Then for tonight, any lingering isolated showers or storms ending early on, a low of 53. For Tuesday, sunny to partly cloudy, upper 70s for highs, and then heating up on your Wednesday, full-on sunshine, a high of 88. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 55.
The Dell Technologies Summer Sale event is on with limited quantity deals on top tech. Save on select PCs powered by the latest Intel Core processors like Thin and Light XPS 13 laptops, Inspiron laptops, and 2-in-1s. Plus, get savings on select accessories, free shipping, and monthly payment options with Dell Preferred Account. It's the perfect season to power your passions during Dell's Summer Sale event. Save today by calling 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL. Offered to U.S. residents by WebBank, who determines qualifications for and terms of credit.
I didn't ask to be thrown in the streets with nowhere to go, but I did ask for help, and Covenant House was there for me.
1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year. For these kids who didn't ask to be put in this unthinkable situation, Covenant House is there, providing hot meals, a safe place to sleep, medical care, and love.
They just really genuinely just wanted to help me succeed, and I'm succeeding.
To learn more, go to safeplacetosleep.org today.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Monday morning, progressives, and welcome to the June 9th. Got to get the dates in the month right, Devin. 2025 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278 is our Credo mobile phone and text line. Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. Email me at richard@WCPT820.com. Catch me on Substack. Definitely. Lots of folks putting a lot of good content on Substack. But catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That's where you can get Choose Views, short versions and long versions in terms of our featured interviews. Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, and Out Chicago, as well as our other shows and interviews. Make your way over to our heartlandsignal.com digital platform. But for now, check this out, progressives.
Then he will target and punish those who disagree with him or refuse to bend to his will. He calls these Americans the enemy within and says that he would use the American military to go after American citizens. Journalists whose stories he doesn't like. Nonpartisan election officials who refuse to cheat by finding a few extra votes for him. Judges who insist on following the law instead of following him. It is for reasons like these that General Mark Milley
as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Donald Trump's top general has called Trump, and I quote, fascist to the core.
So, there are many people, in case you don't know who that was, that's former Vice President Kamala Harris, candidate for president. So many people who said, well, why didn't she talk more about my cost of this and my cost of that? And she didn't come and sit down and spoon feed me what I needed to hear so I could understand who she was and know more about her. And I didn't quite know her. Okay. Here's what I've been saying, and so many people have been saying. We didn't try to tell you. We told you. She told everybody that what's happening in Los Angeles, which breaks my heart, because Los Angeles is kind of my second home. I lived there for a long time. My point is, I went to school there, went to college there. It breaks my heart that it's happening anywhere in the country, or would happen anywhere in the country. But doggone it, she told people. How much more did you need to have her tell you, those who did not vote at all, or those who sat on the sidelines, or those that still want to criticize her and say, well, she didn't do this, she didn't go here. She said enough. She should have said enough for a thinking, plugged-in person to go, I don't want that. But too many people were too doggone privileged, leaning into their, slight racism, if not overt sexism, and their Christian nationalism, and use the economic issues, kitchen table issues. She didn't talk enough about those. Doggone it, she talked about what's happening in Los Angeles. She said it was going to happen. And too many people in this country were too doggone whatever to listen to her when she said it was going to happen. She's called out the National Guard in essentially what we could say a sovereign state and city, an independent city. What about the states? What about that garbage that all you maggots believed? The states' rights. While you're taking away women's privileges, women's health care, states' rights, let the states decide. How about letting Gavin Newsom, whether you love him or don't like him, let him decide when the National Guard should be called up and put into play. Not the president usurping that. And so whether somebody wants to criticize me for where I stand with Vice President Harris or any other Democratic leader, this is the second time in an election against Donald Trump that a woman candidate, a strong woman candidate, a smart woman candidate, a extraordinarily competent woman candidate told us in an unfiltered way what would happen. And here we are. Here we are. And I'm a little bit ticked off behind the people that want to criticize Vice President Harris. I just got a text from someone says, bro, give up on Kamala. She lost. Okay, fine. We know she lost. Hello, water's wet. I know she lost. We all know she lost. But the point is that she lost because people didn't pay attention or were too doggone arrogant to say, and irrespective of all this garbage people want to throw about, I know how wrecked and problematic there are things within the Democratic Party. And yeah, we can get into all kinds of sub-conversations. At the end of the day, what's happening now in every single front, on every single front, Vice President Harris told the country it was going to happen. Whether it be what she said about who he was going to go against with regard to the economy, here we are. Prices of anything, nothing's come down in a way that's relevant to the, quote, kitchen table crew. We're still fighting in the middle. We still got the issue in the Middle East. We still got the Ukraine war going on. And now we've got National Guard members in the streets of Los Angeles. Oh, by the way, where was the National Guard, MAGA, and people who are moderate Democrats or moderate Republicans somewhere landing in the middle. Where were they when these insurrectionists invaded our Capitol? He didn't call them out. He sat back and watched. That's been documented now. Where were they then? So stop lying to yourselves, America. Stop the doggone lie. The question is, what's next? Because Lord knows, Los Angeles is not Chicago. Let's be honest. If that happens here in Chicago, it's going to look different. I'm just saying. Devin, call me a fool if you think I am. But if he decides to call out the Illinois National Guard and have them hoist themselves on communities in the city of Chicago, I literally do pray that it doesn't happen. I hope it doesn't happen anyplace else. So, today's guest, Sarah Jones from PoliticusUSA, will be with us in the 7 o'clock hour, and Rich Logis with his guest, James Hicks, will be with us from Leaving MAGA. We'll be taking your calls, of course. When we come back from this quick break, we'll hit you with a couple of Choose Views news items and some other current events that are going on in this beautiful country that we live in. Hopefully we get to keep a hold of it. 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
WCPT Replay.
We are proud to have U.S. Representative Nikki Baczynski with us here this morning. How are your constituents in your district holding up?
A lot of people are really scared, I'm going to be honest. I mean, we have had at least one teletown hall. We had almost 10,000 people on it, and I would tell you, we typically only maybe get around 2,000. Wow. A lot of people were dialing. I know, it's truly breathtaking. And I would say 5 times, and I would say at the end of the call, there were still 2,000 people on the line. And what that says to me is people are paying attention. What I heard from the questions that were asked are people are very concerned. They want to know rightfully, what am I doing to fight back? They want to know what they can be doing. And some of the things I've been trying to work on is what can we be doing to channel this energy to fight back?
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Good morning. You're waking up with Richard Chu.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
We're live and ready to hear from you. Text or call us now at 773-763-9278. Same number. Simple as that. Let's get the conversation going on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. So I want to give some shout outs. Last week we were so fortunate to have just a bevy of wonderful guests with us. Beginning of the week, Ira Shapiro was with us talking about his book, The Betrayal, how Mitch McConnell basically screwed up the Senate. Mike Nellis, political strategist. On Tuesday, we had Comptroller Susana Mendoza talking about small businesses and the things that she's doing with her videos. And I'm actually going to be trying to do some stuff with them, too, in the weeks to come. State Representative Mike Kelly was with us. Then on Wednesday, we had the first part of a 2-part segment with the Kent State professors, Dr. Chick Canfora and Thomas Grace, which really broke down why activism is so important. Kurt Mellett from Hoosier Blue 63, Patrick Hanley, who's running for office here in Illinois, Cliff Cash on Thursday, had a great event on Saturday in D.C., had a chance to catch some of the video of that. Brian Lemech was with us, as well as Sean Harris, who's running again and announced his candidacy to run in Georgia. And then on Friday, although we didn't have Mayor Johnson with us because of the horrible event that took place with the shooting, we did have our great friends Karen Byrne from True Blue Politics Podcast and Natalie Ziemba, City Councilwoman from Woodstock, with us here in studio. So we had a great week of guests, and I want to give shout-outs and thanks to everybody that was with us. And this week is going to be equally exciting and fun. As I mentioned earlier, Sarah Jones will be with us this morning along with Rich Logis. We'll have a guest from Advance, Illinois with us tomorrow. Addie Zwick will be with us. And then Wednesday, Kurt Muller will be landing his propeller plane here. We'll have a guest from Operation Push. Michelle Duster will be with us, author and historian, on Thursday. And then Friday, Karen Byrne from True Blue Politics Podcast will be with us. So got a busy week and looking forward to it. And today, Live, Local, and Progressive, Joan Esposito will be joined by John Shaw, director of the Paul Simon Public Policy Institute at Southern Illinois University in Carbondale, and journalist, author, and pundit Molly Jong-Fast, who will be in Evanston Wednesday doing an event at the Nichols Concert Hall. Live, Local, and Progressive weekdays 2 to 5 here on WCPT, Chicago's Progressive Talk for 20 years. And then tonight, driving it home, Patty Vasquez will be talking to Melissa McMahon, Woodstock Pride Fest coordinator and mind and body expert Jen Zanotti. Driving it home with Patty Vasquez weekdays 5 to 7 here on WCPT, Heartland Signal, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. So there you go, guys. Just a couple of quick hits on who's going to be here on the show. But let me bring you up to speed on a couple of items that are part of what we found over at Choose Views News on this June 9th, 2025. Why job seekers may consider pay cuts. Check this one out. Most American workers aren't interested in taking a pay cut, even if it would mean a lighter workload or better relationship with their boss, according to LinkedIn's latest workforce confidence survey. Job seekers, however, are feeling the effects of a softening job market and are more open to slashing their pay for a few key reasons. More than 4 in 10 people reported being willing to take a pay cut if it means working for a company better aligned with their values or more opportunities for advancement or flexible work. How about that? Women slowly are making C-suite inroads. Women now hold 55 CEO positions in Fortune 500 companies. So we call that 10%, barely, 11%, I should say, of the country's top and largest companies. That's up slightly from 10.4% last year. While there are more women in coveted corner offices than ever before, progress is still slow. Plus, the majority of the new women added to the list were promoted from within the company, including the Ulta Beauty and U.S. Bank organizations. Men, on the other hand, were more likely to be external hires. That says a lot. Read between the lines on that. Women are getting it done and moving up, but unfortunately, not enough and not at a fast enough pace. JP Morgan's warnings to new hires. JP Morgan warned of incoming junior bankers not to accept future dated job offers outside the company with 18 months of starting the bank's analyst program. Those who do will be fired. A letter sent to new recruits stated recently. The letter implicitly targets private equity firms whose recruiting tactics have drawn the ire of JP Morgan's chief executive. In August, JP told analysts it was reviewing its policies and that accepting a position at a private equity firm could result in the bank reconsidering their employment. How about that? And then here's a historic deal for college athletes. Colleges will be allowed to compensate student athletes after a federal court approved a $2.8 billion settlement with the NC2A. The decision will usher in arguably the biggest change in the history of college sports. The settlement resolves nearly 5 years of litigation in a case dubbed House versus NC2A, named in part for the Arizona State swimmer Grant House, who sued to lift the longstanding restrictions on revenue sharing. A commission formed shortly after the ruling named Major League Baseball's Brian Seeley as its new CEO. And this is just a couple of quick ones for you. Elon and Doge activities have weakened Tesla's sales and market shares globally. Now that that's happening, the impact is they've not even been able to measure it yet because they're not quite sure how deep it could go in terms of impacting not only Tesla, but also SpaceX and his other organizations. So there you go. So, guys, I had to get that out because when the clip that we played is meaningful regarding Vice President Harris and what she said, and the reason that I wanted to highlight that, and we'll keep talking about it, is because every time we hear this conversation about why the Democrats lost, it's because they say the people pundits, strategists, and many others say so many times that they lost because she wasn't the right candidate. She didn't have enough time. People didn't get to know her. And then they go down the path of, and the Dems didn't talk to the right people. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. Well, whether Trump talked to the right people or not, what didn't happen is not enough people were willing to listen to what Vice President Harris clearly said. I'm tired of people saying that they didn't talk about certain things enough. If you don't have a community that you can live in, if you don't have leaders that are going to lead and not threaten, then it's going to be hard to go to the grocery store. I mean, what's going to happen next, Evan? You and I roll into a grocery store together, and they look at us and think we're an LGBTQ couple, and we get stopped. And we're just two guys hanging out to go grocery shopping because it was easier to take one car than two? Is that where we're headed? So we're going to go buy the less expensive eggs and the less expensive grocery items, but we can't even get in the doggone store because now they're doing checks to see who's who. That's where this is headed. And Vice President Harris said that. Too many people were too doggone arrogant and willfully ignorant in some ways, or just stubborn, that they could not vote for that and against him. Sometimes, and this is a time, we always talk about we're in a different political time. Yeah, we are. Maybe voting against something is meaningful, would have been meaningful. And the reason I'm doing a little bit of a rehash here, which I don't do a lot, I try not to at least, is because this conversation has been going on and on and on about what she didn't do. How about what she did do? What she did do is she screamed from the top of her lungs that what happened in Los Angeles this weekend was going to happen, and that the economy would suffer under Donald Trump. Now, the economy, the markets, the combination of those two, plus when we look at the impacts of these tariffs, that businesses are all quaking a little bit. What the heck else would you want her to talk about? She said it. Loan assistance, helping businesses. I mean, safety, not people coming and knocking on your door to yank you out of your houses. Finding a way to make it so that those who weren't here with all the exact paperwork could get the right paperwork, and we could be able to help those folks move forward in our country. I saw a statistic this weekend that there's well over 600,000 people that are here illegally from where? Not from Mexico or brown countries. They're from predominantly European-esque, white European-esque countries that are here illegally because much of their documentation has run out. It's expired in terms of the cards that they may hold to be here in the first place. So I'm sick and tired of this. She didn't say enough. She didn't come spoon feed me on my front porch what I wanted to hear. You should have heard when not just her, but so many other people said, this is what Donald Trump would do. You should have heard, or if you were too doggone lazy to open up Project 2025 and call your representative and go, is this true? Are they trying to do this? See, sometimes what gets me is when people blame without taking responsibility. And heaven help us if this spreads to other major cities, y'all. You just don't know. And that's the march that they're on, disguising it as taking out illegal criminals and rapists. How in the hell is a woman with a baby in her arm out there raping somebody? I mean, help me understand that one. How is she out there raping someone? How about finding a way to help? I'm frustrated this morning because people didn't listen, or that those that did chose to pull the curtain down and say, yeah, she's wrong. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's a woman. She's a black woman. What the hell does she know? And for a lot of you union guys that are in collar counties and suburbs of the city of Chicago that whined about how the Democrats didn't talk to you enough, or vice president, and you said, you Bernie bros that voted for Trump because she didn't come to your union meeting and talk to you specifically enough, or that President Biden didn't before he stepped out of the race, you all hold some responsibility on this too. You're Democrats in blue states, and you decided to vote for Trump because of why. You're responsible for this too. And the guys who run companies like the clip that we played last week, that run the small businesses that are employing folks who need where they need those crews to go out on construction jobs. You're responsible for this too. So I'm fed up with this. Keep blaming the Democrats and I mean, at some point, America, you got to stop and go, that's going to be bad for us. And you didn't do that. You took the position that, we know better. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's wrong. You did the same doggone thing with Hillary Clinton. And look what that got us. But no, didn't learn the lesson. How many people died in COVID because Trump mismanaged that? But no, you got your boy because Hillary didn't know what she was talking about. So I'm frustrated this morning behind this because, as I said, it's personal for me with Los Angeles because Los Angeles is kind of a second home for me. Just like the fires were, personal for me. And if anybody's offended by my tone, I apologize if you're offended. But I'm not going to stop saying what I see as truth about the fact that a lot of people fell asleep. I just got a text that 36% of the people who decided to have a session with the couch, and the others that voted that said, I can't vote for her, I got to vote for him because he's a businessman. He's going to do better for the economy. He's talking to me. This is what is happening. And doggone it, take some responsibility for your own actions when it comes to this stuff. Pick up a damn book. Pick up a computer and research some of the things that smarter people, and we all got people in our lives that are smarter than us, are trying to tell you are happening. Stop listening to your boys who don't know what the hell they're talking about, or your girls, as it were. Stop doing that, America. Good Lord. Universities are quaking because of this retribution tour that Donald Trump is on. They're fighting for their survival. Companies are. I mean, when in the heck is America going to stop lying to itself and take some doggone responsibility? We're going to take another quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-708-3091. 800-708-3091. 800-708-3091. That's 800-708-3091.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, we'll see a mixture of clouds and sunshine developing, a chance for some scattered afternoon showers and storms with highs in the mid-70s. Then for tonight, any lingering isolated showers or storms ending early on, a low of 53. For Tuesday, sunny to partly cloudy, upper 70s for highs, and then heating up on your Wednesday, full-on sunshine, a high of 88. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 57.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
It's Choose View with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose View, 773-763-9278. Okay, I may go down that path again during the show because I'm frustrated with the fact that this is happening in our country. And I got a great reminder. So thank you. I think this is from, let me make sure so people get the right to credit, from Cassandra. Yes, Cassandra in Oak Park. Thank you for reminding me also that what's happening in Los Angeles is part of the distraction of the Musk-Trump little hissy fit that they're both having, so that people don't pay attention to the destruction that's coming between the two of them, and how Donald's afraid. And I agree with this. I mean, I kind of said this to some friends this weekend. Yeah, Donald's afraid that Elon's going to spill the beans, go run off to some island. And the ladies and I, Karen and Natalie and I, talked about this a little bit on Friday, that Elon's going to spill the beans and provide some cover for himself. And, you know, they were going to end up with J.D. Vance as president, which would be equally, if not worse, bit of awfulness. But, Donald is, once again, playing the distraction game, but at the cost of people's lives and people's safety and people's belief systems. That's the cost there, the raw, direct cost. And irrespective of anything that, well, let me rephrase this. Everybody was told this was going to happen. And as Kamala Harris said in one of her speeches, and can you believe they wrote it down? I mean, I'm paraphrasing loosely. She said in one of her speeches, and can you believe they wrote it down? Meaning Project 2025, unitary executive theory, which means gives the president in part the power to do what he's doing now, and the immunity. And so John Roberts as well. So see, this is one of those moments where I can do a little bit of history here. For those that are wondering, okay, so yeah, we didn't just get here in one moment. That's correct. Or the people that are saying we didn't get here just in one moment. That's correct. So case in point, the Supreme Court that we have right now is largely due to the fact that a lot of people decided not to come out and vote. When? During the midterms and when Barack Obama was elected president in his first term. A lot of people said, oh, God, it's so great. I voted for him. You know, I voted for the black guy. But you didn't turn out in the midterms. We lost the House and Senate. And the Supreme Court started to make a more radical right shift at that point. We've had opportunities to have people in place. See, this is the point I'm making. Had people come out in the midterms and we held the House and held the Senate, Mitch McConnell wouldn't have had, well, let me back up even further. There wouldn't have been the empowerment that the Republicans got in the House to cause all the hell for President Obama to not be able to effectively get things done, where he had to constantly be playing ping pong with them, back and forth, trying to play nice. If folks had showed up in the midterms, rather than patting yourselves on the back that I voted for the black guy, if you had showed up in the midterms in 2010, then we would have held the House, probably held the Senate, and that would have given him the ability to get stuff done. Now, we go forward, wash, rinse, and repeat. The fact that we didn't have control like we needed when it came to the Senate, Mitch McConnell was able to stall the appointment of Merrick Garland. So check that box for the people that didn't show up, and then that we didn't get other Senate seats that we should have gotten. That would have changed the dynamic of the Supreme Court. Let's keep going forward. Y'all decided to vote for Donald Trump rather than Hillary Clinton for her emails and all the other, her pantsuits and the Bill Clinton history and all that other garbage. Look what he did. Just cruised right in. And now look what we have. We have 6 radical right Supreme Court justices, and we bend ourselves in the pretzels trying to figure out what side of this conversation Amy Coney Barrett is going to land on, depending on how she woke up one morning, and is she going to vote with the liberal judges or is she going to vote with their conservative boys? Clarence cooking the system. Alito putting out flags and other banners and garbage to destroy the continuity of the belief in our Supreme Court. A dude that is accused of raping a woman on the Supreme Court. That should have been squashed when it gets that serious, and then the administration that's part of nominating him blocks the FBI having data to get to the truth. But no, y'all want to keep voting for that. And they did it again. Did it again, y'all. So, we had opportunities to hold the House, hold the Senate. People didn't show up. When we had the control that we needed, we didn't keep that control. We didn't keep running the plays that we needed. And yes, we had that. We didn't have the House for all of Obama's 2 terms, and we didn't have the Senate for all of Obama's 2 terms. But the point isn't. The point I want to make is historically, when we've made these mistakes of not showing up to vote, this is the point I want to make. When we don't show up, we get what we have right now, what's going on in Los Angeles and what's going on in Washington in terms of the tearing down of the agencies that we need to keep our country strong and keep our citizens strong. And that's the part that is it's anger and frustration that comes with that, because we had opportunities and people decided that they just could not get the things to do the things that most basic things that would have helped us, and that's to get out and vote for people that were going to at least not harm you. At the very least, not harm you. And I can go back and look at this and say, Joe Biden wasn't trying to harm anybody. He was trying to help. Barack Obama wasn't trying to harm anybody, whether they voted for him or not. He was trying to help. Bill Clinton, same thing. Jimmy Carter, same thing. But look at the numbers of people that have died, lost their jobs, lost their wherewithal, lost their health under Republican administrations, and then they'll filter down to the states and how that's impacted our livelihoods in states and cities. It's been under Republicans' leadership on a federal level and, frankly, on a state level. Here in the state of Illinois, Rauner was trying to take things away from people. Pritzker's trying to help. It's that simple to me. It doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. We can go state by state of Republican governors versus Democratic governors. There's a few exceptions. We understand that. So don't get caught up in, but what about this guy? We understand that. Or this gal, this woman. Stop electing Republicans, head faking on Democrats going, well, the Dems didn't do this. Well, the Dems didn't try to cut your heart out. They wanted to get you to the emergency room so you could get care. The Republicans were putting in roadblocks to prevent you from even getting into an ambulance. So if you're going to go out to a rally, irrespective of your color and community and culture and race and all that, please be safe. If you're going to go out to protect and say to be a support system for someone who might be a target of ICE, please be safe. And here's the thing: that at this point, they're just snatching up anybody to say that this person they were a contributing factor to harming the ICE agents. So they're snatching up folks that aren't even on the list. So I want you guys to be safe. I want you guys to be mindful. I don't want you guys to get out there and put yourselves in harm's way. Please, please, please do not do that. All right, guys. Now, let's talk a little bit about some numbers for a second. And this is the thing that I think is important about this big bill that's out there. And then we're going to grab a couple quick calls. Right now, it's very, very close on this bill. The Republicans can only lose 3 Senate votes on this big, ugly bill. And the senators that are most vulnerable in 2026 in terms of their upcoming elections are Susan Collins in Maine, Tom Tillis in North Carolina, Sullivan in Arkansas, Husted in Ohio, Moody in Florida, Cornyn in Texas, and Ernst in Iowa. As I've said before, call the switchboard. That number is 202-224-3121. Again, 202-224-3121. called their offices. I'll give you their names again: Collins in Maine, Tillis in North Carolina, Sullivan in Arkansas, Husted in Ohio, Moody in Florida, Corning in Texas, and Ernst in Iowa. They're all up in 2026. They're vulnerable seats, and we should be working to get those seats. But in the meantime, we should be working to push them to vote no. That's the opportunity that I believe we have and we should take advantage of. All right. Let's see. Let's grab a quick call before we go to break. Let's go to Al in Franklin Park. Good morning, Al. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Richard. I have a couple of things for you.
Go for it.
And the first one is you just said, please be safe. Please be peaceful. You know, we need peaceful protests, and they want these to be to not be peaceful, and that's very important. That's how we're going to win, is if we keep these peaceful too.
Yeah, good point, Al. Thank you for that reminder.
And then as you are talking about the voters that didn't vote for Kamala, you keep saying you all and talking about you all, but those people listening to the show are not those people. It is everybody else who was too busy and not paying attention. Everybody is listening to you right now did vote for Kamala, or I would say 99% of them, or close to that, a very high majority. So that's another point. And also you said people are too doggone something. Well, they're too doggone busy. They're too doggone bamboozled. They're too doggone malleable. There are many reasons. You know, we got this media monster machine, you know, just out there doing everything they can possibly do to convince people that they shouldn't be voting, and so on and so forth. And they are spending every minute finding ways to just get votes and do it. The word's not coming to me. But you know, evilly.
We actually have a clip regarding the Republican message machine. Listen, Al, I understand what you're saying about the you all, and so I'm not going to retract that and say I didn't mean to say it that way. I meant to say it that way. There are people out there that listen to all of our shows that listen. I'm talking to them. And I'm also talking to us in the sense that we need to work harder to make sure that as we go forward, we don't make any mistakes like that. I understand that a large portion of our audiences in the progressive conversation are already on our side. But I also know that there are those who are out there, based on what I get. What you don't get to see, Al, are the numbers of communications that we all get from people who are detractors and people who want to say all the things that we did wrong and people that want to complain about what the Democrats aren't doing. So I'll be specific. Those people and the ones who voted for Trump are the people that need to hear that message. You're absolutely right. There's no question about it. So our job collectively is to make sure that they know that they messed up. And correct. And yes, we know that there's been distractions. We know that there's a media message machine from the right that spends all of its time working to distract people from. But at the same time, I'm talking about how we have to make sure that our effort and our work is focused, laser focused.
Correct. Just make sure we say that we understand that there are so many good people listening as well.
And I don't take that for granted, Al. I hear what you're saying, and I get what you're saying in that space. So I appreciate your contribution and your reminder.
And I got two more things if you got time or not.
Make them quick.
One, we should be focusing on one person. You know, you talked about one person that made a difference, and we look at all the one persons on our side that made a difference. Like John McCain is one example, and you can think of so many others right now, and why is John McCain the only one coming? You know, we had places where one vote made a difference to win democratically. So every person counts, every vote counts. You know, and they understand that real well right now. And my last one is just an interesting thing to think about. And what do you think Kamala Harris is thinking right now? What do you think Joe Biden is thinking right now this minute? I'm sure they're thinking about how to make things better and what they can do in the future. What do you think Donald Trump is thinking right now? What do you think Vladimir Putin is thinking right now this minute? I mean, we have good people out there. They make mistakes, but the evil people we are. What do you think Roger Stone is doing right now? What do you think any of these people in the right-wing media or in the what do you think? What the heck is his name? I can't come up with it, but anybody in the Trump administration, all these people, they're not trying to think of how to help people or do anything good. They're right now, right this minute, they're trying to think of ways to get. Well, you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, I do, Al, and I'm glad you got it out this morning. So I can hear that in your voice. I'm glad you got it out. But at the same time, what we know, see, we're going to be the party that's talking about moving forward, which is what I said a moment ago. Not one of the presidents that we've had, and when we look at leaders in the Democratic Party, have been talking about things that are going to hurt people or take away from people. That's how we move forward. We have to focus on those parts of what we do. At the same time, the reason that we have to also acknowledge or at least highlight the fact that they got it wrong is because I'm tired. The basis, Al, just so you remember this, the basis of my frustration, and if you can call it a rant, is that I'm tired of people blaming Democrats. I made that clear.
Yes.
I made it very clear. I'm tired of people blaming when this was told. It was made perfectly clear. And whomever that didn't participate or who did and voted the way they did, it's on their shoulders because and I'm tired of Democrats or media or whomever or analysts or strategists going after what Democrats didn't do right enough when she told us this was going to happen. How much more do people need to hear, Al? I mean, I don't get that.
Understood, but there are people that aren't hearing because they are not in our media bubble.
But I get that. I get that. I know that they're not. But I'm covering all of that by saying I'm tired of us going after each other when this was pointed out and made clear. And I don't mean and I'm not going to try to convince you differently. That's why I welcome your comments.
And I agree 100% with what you're saying, but and heck, you focus a lot on the future and how to make things better, which is all we got to do. And one real quick, NoKings.org is where you go and you find out where the protests are and how to get to them. And I think we were up to 1,600 last Thursday, and so on the Ezra and Leah call they have. So think how many we're up to now, and so just a point, NoKings.org.
Got it. All right, Al, thanks for your call and thanks for your contribution as always.
Sure.
All right, talk to you soon. Bye now.
Bye.
All right, Devin, let's go to a quick break. 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. In the midst of World War II, a group of Native American soldiers known as the Code Talkers became silent heroes. The U.S. military faced challenge of secure communications on the battlefield, and these men, primarily from the Navajo tribe, were enlisted to develop an unbreakable code. Using their native language, which had no written alphabet, they transmitted vital messages that were indecipherable to enemy forces. The code proved to be an essential asset, particularly in the Pacific Theater, where it helped the Allies win crucial battles. The Code Talkers' courage and ingenuity saved countless lives and turned the tide of the war. Yet, their contributions remained largely unknown until decades later. The legacy of the Code Talker stands as a testament to the strength, resilience, and valuable service of Native Americans during one of America's most devastating conflicts. This has been a WCPT Veteran Minute.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
It's Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Let's grab another quick call. Let's go to Dave in Hoffman Estates. Good morning, Dave. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Richard. I'll try to be quick.
No problem, man.
You were talking about rallies. Nobody covered there was one Friday in D.C., the Unite for Veterans, Unite for America rally that was done there. And our very own Senator Connie Duckworth rallied the crowd as one of the scheduled speakers.
Yep, I saw that.
She spoke out of many of Trump's policies and the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill legislation working through Congress to enact Trump's agenda, as she described as a middle finger to our heroes by offering tax cuts instead of keeping jobs. The crowd, in response, raised their own middle fingers to the sky.
Yeah.
And
you guys should check that out. If you can Google it and find it, it's a really powerful statement and presentation on her part. And yeah, that was good stuff.
Yeah, and she ended off pretty much saying, "You deserve better. You earn better," Duckworth said during that remarks. And
there's a good rally also that our friend Cliff Cash was a part of on Saturday, this past Saturday. And so, yes, there were some strong rallies that were held throughout in different places in the country, D.C. particularly. And, you know, as I said a moment ago, if you're going to go out and be participating in a rally, be safe, and as Al said to his credit, be peaceful, but be both. Be peaceful and be safe.
But I didn't see nothing about this on major TV channels, and really didn't hear much of it on any radio about it. Really, I picked up on all of this through written.
Well, you know, Dave, one of the things that I will share with you and share with everybody is that we know that our audience is plugged into what's happening. And, you know, one of the things that we try to do is bring as much to you as we can, and relevant and timely as we possibly can. So if you don't see it, but you know it's out there, I think we're at the point now, and take this with all the sensitivity that it's meant. If you see and hear something and it's not reported by a mainstream or progressive media or any other outlet, then it's really kind of your responsibility to share it, because we got social media. We have all these tools that we can say, let me put this out here. Let me send this to Richard by email. Let me get this to the folks at CPT and hopefully encourage them to talk about it. Because sometimes, you know, people just don't see everything.
And you followed in the past, I pretty much have been the one that's brought up stuff about military and what's going on. You know, it's kind of like, if not me, then who?
Well, I won't take your thunder away there, Dave, but there are many people that contribute a lot of different things to all of our shows. And so, you know, I mean, you have definitely covered a lot of historical and a lot of military, and there's others that have done that too. So my point is, I think we are at a point now where we all have to, if we see something or hear something, let's put it out there. Let's get it to somebody that may have another voice or a louder voice, so that we can share those things. And the Duckworth presentation was fantastic. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, you're speaking to the choir here, brother. But you know, because a lot of people just go buy those yellow loop ribbons, stickers, or put pins and put them on, and they say that's good enough. I've done my bit for the veterans, and it don't cut it.
It doesn't, without a doubt. All right, Dave, thanks for the call. Thanks for the contribution. Appreciate your call.
All right.
Thanks, man. Bye now. All right, let's grab a quick call from Rick in Florida. Good morning, Rick. Welcome to the show.
Florida man checking in. Hello, Richard, and good morning, Chicago. I love you guys. Now, first off, Richard, because I want to keep this positive, and hopefully you'll allow me to finish. And the first thing is, I've heard you mention this several times in the past, that you got people that call up and you're sick and tired of them blaming Kamala Harris. These are just the troll. These are people, and I run into them down here in Florida, that think Donald Trump is the second coming of Christ, and it's in the scriptures, and they're doing God's will. They are delusional.
Yep.
Stop wasting your time allowing them, because honestly, they did this to me too. If you let them, they just beat you down with their stupidity. We, as liberals, as progressives, as the Democratic Party, the time has to come where we decide we need to just stop reasoning with them because they're unreasonable. Just like we know the Nazi Party is a bad party. Got it. Donald Trump, bad. Got it. Let's stop trying to reason with them and just hang the damn phone up.
Yeah, I don't reason. Rick, let me do this so we don't filibuster each other, and we're also at the top of the hour. I don't try to reason with them. If they call in and they want to talk, we talk about it. But rarely do they call in from that position. So I don't try to reason with them. That's not what I'm trying to do. That's not what I'm saying.
You're missing my point. My point is that you're talking about them on the air, which you're doing. So just hang the damn phone up on them. And this goes also to my fellow liberals. Stop trying to, because they just beat you down. Instead, try to shore each other up that is a fellow liberal that's ready to listen, and we go from there. Now, as far as moving forward, and marching is good, protesting is good, it's happening nationwide. The Republican Party has awoken a sleeping giant, the American people, just like the Japanese during the World War II time when they bombed Pearl Harbor and they realized they did the wrong thing and pissed off the wrong people, which was the public, and they paid for that. And this is the second, in a manner of speaking, this is what's happening again. And the Republican parties the more radical they get, that's how you know they're desperate. They put their Marjorie Taylor Greens up front and let her bloviate. We know they're desperate, and we need to see it that way. It's not through strength, it's through desperation. So to move forward, and I'd like to hear you talk more about this, Richard. This is just, I'm not telling you how to run your show. I'm saying this with respect. But if you're serious about moving forward, and this goes also to WCPT and all the other liberal media, we need to start putting the feet under the fire of the Democratic Party, because I don't see enough being done by them. And if they can't, they need to get the hell out of the way and resign, and we need to get, the elections are coming up soon, and let's put fresh, young blood, fearless blood from the churches, from the neighborhoods that are ready to fight for us, that are not connected to the machine. Okay. And we need to start looking for these young people. That's number one. The other thing that we need to do is, just like with Ronald Reagan, Donald Trump, if he's going to really screw up our lives, we're seeing that he's going to do it through deregulation like Ronald Reagan did. And he's going to allow these corporations, the military-industrial complex, to pollute our waters like it was reported in USA Today several months ago, last summer actually.
Well, Rick,
the amount of microplastics is coming from the military complex, and Donald Trump is allowing this to happen.
Hey, Rich.
So these are the...
Hey, Rick, I gotta slow you down because we're at the top of the hour. I listened. I didn't interrupt you. I knew you wanted to get it out, so you did. But we got to go to a break. Thanks for your call. 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Check up on health with Chris Whitting.
Radon is a gas that causes thousands of cases of lung cancer every year. Exactly how many is not entirely clear, according to Dr. Phil Price, a physicist at the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory.
The government's own number is really uncertain. The best estimate is between 15 and 22,000 per year, but they say it could be as low as 3,000 or as much as 33,000.
So, should you be concerned about your family's health?
If you are in an area where radon is an issue, that is, you hear about it from your neighbors and you look online and there are radon mitigation companies in your area, then you probably live in an area with elevated radon, and you should probably do a long-term measurement and decide whether to fix your house. If you don't live in an area where any of that's true, you never hear about it where you live, then probably you don't live in a high radon area, and especially if you're a non-smoker, you might not want to worry about it.
For Check Up on Health, I'm Chris Whitting.
From office supplies to IT essentials, Amazon Business provides tools that help you save costs and make insight-based decisions. Learn how to bring your visions to life at AmazonBusiness.com.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. That sound of officers firing rubber bullets and tear gas at protesters as demonstrations escalated Sunday in Los Angeles. Thousands took to the streets after President Trump deployed the National Guard. It was the third and most intense day of demonstrations against Trump's immigration crackdown in the region. At a news conference, Los Angeles Police Chief Jim McDonnell says officers will do what's necessary if the protesters get out of hand.
When peaceful demonstrations devolve into acts of vandalism or violence, especially violence directed at innocent people, law enforcement officers, and others, we must respond firmly. An act of violence, whether toward officers, demonstrators, or the public, will be met with swift and lawful action.
The Trump administration's new travel ban has gone into effect. Citizens of 12, mainly African and Middle Eastern countries, are now banned from traveling to the U.S. AP correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports Israeli forces seized a Gaza-bound aid boat and detained Greta Thunberg and other activists who were on board.
The activists had set out to protest Israel's ongoing military campaign in the Gaza Strip, which is among the deadliest and most destructive since World War II, and its restrictions on the entry of humanitarian aid, both of which have put the territory of some 2 million Palestinians at risk of famine. The Freedom Flotilla Coalition, which had organised the voyage, said the activists were kidnapped by Israeli forces while trying to deliver desperately needed aid to the territory. Israel's foreign ministry has portrayed the voyage as a public relations stunt, saying in a post on X that the selfie yacht is safely making its way to the shores of Israel.
2 tropical storms gathered off Mexico's Pacific coast Monday, with one forecast to become a hurricane later in the day. Tropical Storm Barbara was about 185 miles southwest of Manzanillo, Mexico. Barbara is expected to continue moving toward the west-northwest, but should begin weakening by Tuesday. This is AP News. AP correspondent Donna Warder reports on World Pride 2025.
They gathered under gray skies Sunday morning at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. for a rally before a protest march on the final day of World Pride 2025.
We're going to vote. So what are we going to do? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. What are we going to do?
Transgender actor and filmmaker Brian Michael Smith.
I am someone who knows what it means to walk into rooms, to walk onto fields, to walk into places that I've been told I shouldn't be there.
Smith says there's an attack on democracy and that today's targets are trans people, queer people, black and brown people, immigrants, and women. But he says it won't just stop there because it's about dismantling democracy in and of itself. Donna Warder, Washington.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News. Have a good morning.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, we'll see a mixture of clouds and sunshine developing, a chance for some scattered afternoon showers and storms with highs in the mid-70s. Then for tonight, any lingering isolated showers or storms ending early on, a low of 53. For Tuesday, sunny to partly cloudy, upper 70s for highs, and then heating up on your Wednesday, full-on sunshine, a high of 88. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 57.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to the show. 773-763-9278 is the Credo mobile phone and text line. Okay, guys. A deep breath. I know that some are sitting in different chairs in this conversation or our what we covered in the first hour. It needs to be said that this is where we are, and we were told, and some people didn't respond to it. And yeah, we need to move forward. We have to. That's the only way is forward. And we have to continue to galvanize, which we talk about on our show every day, about moving forward and how we take back control and what we have to do. So I hear what you all are saying, whether you're sending me a text or you've called in, and I get that. So remember when I say things like we have to fight harder, it's because I'm wanting us to fight forward and win. It's not to relive the past, relitigate the past, but I'm not going to not talk about something that we were told and how many people didn't respond, left, right, and in the middle. So, speaking of left, right, in the middle, we've got a great guest with us, our one of our new partners in crime. But before we bring her on, I want to play a clip regarding something that she talked about this past week, and this is a clip from David Jolly, who was on the show a few days ago.
I'm not sure the recreation of today's Democratic Party goes through Washington. I actually think in a midterm election it goes through state houses. And here's what I share with Democratic clubs. I actually resent, and I think it's wrong, when some Democratic leaders say we have to rush to the middle, some fictional moderate point on the left-right spectrum, or we have to find threads of Trumpism that we can embrace. That's wrong. When Schumer and other elected Democrats who try to race to the middle tell their base they're wrong, no. The base is right. Some party has to stand up for the marginalized, has to fight for an economy for all people, a government that works for all people, freedom for all people, dignity for all people. I just think it's a matter of, in 26, meeting voters where they are at. What are they most concerned about? You and I are in Florida. It's an insurance crisis. It's a voucher crisis. It's abandoned public schools. It's a corruption of ethics in Tallahassee. Perhaps it's utility rates. Pick your state, Michigan, California, where we're going to see some midterm races. I think Democrats have the opportunity to show voters we are on your side. We want to solve your problems. That's very hard in federal races where the issue is all about Donald Trump. In the state houses and other races, it's not about Donald Trump. I think Democrats are right on the issues. It's a matter of meeting voters right where they're at. I can tell you from these town halls, they're ready to do it.
And with that, welcome to the show, our good friend, Sarah Jones from PoliticusUSA. Good morning, Sarah. Welcome to Choose Views. How are you this morning?
I'm good. Good morning. It's so good to be here. Yeah, what a crazy... We are in crazy times, my friend.
Yes,
very crazy.
Yes, we are. So in the first hour, I went on a little bit, and you wrote a couple of pieces that we'll talk about. I went on about the fact that we were told, and as imperfect as the Democratic Party is, our goal is to continue to fight and to run forward. And it's so much that we have to do to fight forward. And we don't have to be overly critical of ourselves. We have to use that energy to move ourselves forward. That's what we have to do. I think everybody that listens to my show recognizes that that's the position that I take. But I'm frustrated and very frustrated with the fact that what's happening in Los Angeles may spread to other communities. And we were told that this would happen. And people, for whatever reason, that didn't vote, that did vote, but the wrong way, didn't hear that message. So at this point, I think that what's got to be really important as part of this fight is, to your article and as well as to what David Jolly said, is that we can't tack toward the middle. It's a huge mistake to move toward the middle to try to regain territory. We have to bring people to us. We have to have candidates that are going to run on the items that are important to all of Americans, and most certainly those who call themselves progressive, liberal, or Democrat. And that's what you sort of highlighted in your article.
Yeah, I think one of the big problems the Democratic Party is having right now is the voice, the tone, the messaging, who is messaging to the people. When you see like AOC or Jasmine Crockett, for example, talking, people respond. That's what the base wants right now. They want that energized, pro-democracy, just pro-basic human rights, but really unapologetic. And why would you be apologizing for wanting human rights to be upheld? I even see that with what's going on in LA. Just the messaging of Democrats, it's just so, it's so bad. It's so bad. And I think what's happening is, we saw this, and it isn't about relitigating the past. You can't move forward until you address issues directly. And what happens is we sweep everything under the rug, and then the same mistakes are made. We've seen that in the Republican Party for the last at least 2 decades. And I do see it in the Democratic Party right now in terms of this very issue. Let's not forget that they went from letting elite donors and the consultancy class pick the candidate to turning to sort of to the right. And then they wonder why they lost. Well, Democrats didn't lose the election because the country moved right. That's what everybody's saying, but that's not accurate. When you look at why people, why they lost, Democrats did not turn out for the 2024 election. So, and the issues that were raised by people weren't the issues that the media and that the Democratic Party themselves or the consultancy class is telling them were the issues about, oh, you've got to stop being woke and all that. Nobody cares about that stuff. Yes, it's what they go on about on the right, but that's because that's how authoritarians consolidate power. It has nothing to do with what people respond to in terms of people on the left and people in the middle. Although too many people do respond to that call for authoritarianism. Many people are drawn to that, which is disturbing in and of itself. But people want to believe there's some, great man in the sky kind of thing that's going to take care of everything, right? They see Donald Trump that way, and because he presents himself that way, and the media goes along with that presentation, as we see the way that they sort of treat him, no matter what he does. There isn't a lot of questioning of his right to do this or the tone that he's using. Why is he always bashing people on the left? If you heard a Democratic president talking about people on the right, the way that Trump speaks constantly about people on the left, that simply wouldn't be allowed. And I think Democrats see all this. What they respond to is they respond out of fear. And so then they want to go chase the middle. They want to make sure everybody knows that they're civil, that they're polite, that they're a good choice. And there was a time when those were issues that they had to address, but that was a long time ago. That was like post 60s. We're way past that now. And that isn't what they need to be addressing. Now, what they have to show people, actually, and I've been saying this, I think, for 10 years, they have to show people that when they are given power, they will actually use it.
I think one of the things that happened, and again, there's a part that to fix and move forward is required. At the same time, I think one of the things that I oftentimes go to is I want people to hold some responsibility in their day-to-day activities when it comes to this political, social, democracy experience, and that is it's a delicate balance because we know humans want someone. And there's a large swath of humans that want to be led and want to be told what to do and be guided. And when they see someone that gives them the illusion, or in their mind the reality that that's the person that's going to fill that void in me or fill that need in me, then they're drawn to that person. It's part of our humankind, if you will. And so it is one of the reasons that's part of this delicate balance. But at the same time, I think that people have to take responsibility and be willing to say, I need to be the one to make the determining decision that this is right for me. And I think a lot of times that's where I wonder, and I ask this question, what is it that's going to get people going to allow people to be more responsible in their decisions? And when it comes to voting, I think that this is where that's what we can tap into, is how do we draw more people into the conversation that are willing to vote in a way that's going to make sense for more than just themselves, but all of our community. And it's not even a lofty goal. It's just I think it's a read of where we are right now. The people are dissatisfied. We know that. But at the same time, I think people have to be willing to look at the candidates and vote for one that's going to make more sense. The delicate balance, as I said, and I'm repeating myself, is how do we find that balance? And Trump represented a lot of things for a lot of people, does represent a lot of hate, a lot of anger, a lot of disenfranchisement, and probably 3 or 4 other bullet points. And to circle back to your original point about who the singular voice is right now in the Democratic Party and who that will be, who will emerge. It can't be someone that's going to attack to the middle. It's got to be, I don't think right now. I think it's because the middle is not where the good stuff is. It's not to the middle, and it's certainly not to the right. So to get to the right, you got to go through the middle, and I don't think we go through the middle. I think, like David Jolly said, it's going to be found in that person that stakes a position that's away from all this craziness, and at the same time is inspiring.
Right. It's got to be somebody who's willing to fight for what is right. And these are basic things that we're talking about. We're not asking for the way that it's discussed is that people, you're going too far to the left, you're socialist, you're all of that stuff. It's just absolute
Those
garbage.
are words that get thrown on us when we move in that direction, when in fact that's the direction that the body politic is saying, move in that direction, is to pull us back from where we have gone to. Is that right? And
exactly. What people want, the things that those words, a lot of things, let's say democratic socialism, a lot of things that those words represent is what the public wants. And when they're polled, that's been consistent for decades as well. So that is exactly why the media and Republicans will criticize Democrats when they go there. They are terrified of a popular Democrat who embraces those things that people want. Because as we can see, Republicans have had to change the rules consistently over the last couple decades really since Nixon, before Nixon, in order to get people to vote for them and in order to change the rules for voting to help them win elections. They wouldn't have to be doing all of that if what they wanted to do was actually popular with people. And that is the other reason why they weaponize propaganda. So it's very difficult to run against somebody like Donald Trump, who uses 3 words that he repeats constantly in this kind of fire hose of lies that he does with the confidence that he does it with. And he says absolutely garbage things, and the way he demonizes migrants and immigrants, for example, as a way to signal to people what he stands for. Mm-hmm. It's very hard to run against, so you're a Democrat running against that, and you want to talk about policies. No one is talking about policies, right? No one. Donald Trump is not talking about policies. How do you have a debate with somebody who doesn't care? Who doesn't come prepared to talk about policy because he doesn't know anything about it and he doesn't care. All he wants is power.
And here's what's interesting about that, Sarah, and this is going to be a somewhat of a broad brush statement, but I mean, we both are making this a little bit. At the end of the day, a lot of people who have voted Republican in these last few elections, they haven't really given a darn about policy either. They've voted for 3 times. They voted for a person that was really more about sort of exercising their hate, exercising their culture disputes, exercising the things that they actually dislike about other people, but not really voting for something that is a policy that would fix the things that they're actually upset about.
And they don't even, the thing that, and even I'll take that further because I live in this Trump district, so I'm surrounded by the way and I talked to them about politics, and what happens is the goalpost always moves. So it isn't even that they hate this particular, they're told who to hate. Mm-hmm. And that is part of this culture that they live in. And the culture is where they get all of the community aspects, all of the approval that people seek in their daily lives. And that's why it's so effective. So they live in this epistemic closure kind of media bubble, and they are never exposed to other ideas. And in those worlds, they're told who to hate. And that feels really good when everybody around you is agreeing, and it's seen as this moral stance. Mm-hmm. And that's who they think they are, which is very different from who they are actually being. And I'm sad to say that, because some of these folks are actually what I would say are good people in the rest of their lives. And I know that sounds really odd to say. How can you be a good person when you're voting for so much harm? And I agree that people should be held accountable for that. But I think that if we just brush over that, we miss the fact that there is, brainwashing is too strong of a word, but there are cult-like aspects to what's going on. And it is drawing in decent people. And actually, we saw during the pandemic, we saw people that were on the left completely radicalized against their own beliefs by mental, the mental health crisis really that came about from the isolationism that happened during the pandemic, and the people being so sick. So you see smart people, smart authoritarians, they know how to weaponize all of these moments against people. So yeah, there is this huge swath of people voting against their own best interests. They don't even know, when you talk to them and ask them about a certain policy or something Trump said or something Trump did, for example, January 6th, immediately after January 6th, the Trump voter, very strong supporters that I spoke to, were horrified. But in the weeks that followed, they were propagandized too. And then they started to come up with, that was Antifa, that was, false flags, that was the FBI. And then they decided that it was actually a peaceful protest, because that's what Trump told them. And then they decided that it didn't matter, and that actually they had been doing something good there. And that's where they've landed. That's where they are now, where they're all heroes.
Well, it's interesting that you said that. So what I find kind of compelling about that is, you said not necessarily brainwashed, but in a cult. The two gentlemen I'm going to have on the 7:30 hour will be talking about that, part of an organization called Leaving MAGA. And I've had a person on probably every other month since the beginning of the year when I look back. And in every case, each person has said that there was a certain amount of brainwashing that took place, and it was really driven out of sort of this hate mantra that, to your point, who do you hate? Who do you want to go after? Who do you dislike? But outside of that person wasn't really, they themselves have said, I don't know what happened to me, because that's really not who I thought I was, but I got drawn into this. And on a repeated, consistent basis, it was the hate for someone other than you, that looked different, that sounded different, that loved different, and the list goes on, than you. And that the Republican Party, the Trump messaging, the MAGA community had inspired them to let that hate come out.
I think it's important for people to understand that that's part of fascism, right? Violence is how they see how they're going to change the world. They have to declare an enemy, and then that enemy has to be exterminated. And they teach their base to hate those people, and they teach their base what we're seeing, what they're doing in Los Angeles, for example, is to teach people, regular people, to train them to inform on their neighbors, to tell on other people, and to use violence themselves against the people that the authoritarian leader tells them to hate. That is all. We've seen this throughout history. It's nothing new. Donald Trump is not a surprise. Everything he's doing, we can predict. So that is all part of what he does. And that's why it's important to say, yes, that what these people have done with their vote is horrible. But underneath that, there are people who have been misled. This is not, if they were outside of that echo chamber, they wouldn't be doing these things. Now, that doesn't mean they shouldn't be held accountable. And I think what needs to happen right now is those people that are the ICE agents who aren't even real law enforcement officers sometimes, these people all need to be held accountable for what they're doing. And there needs to be that sense that they will be held accountable. Otherwise, this is all going to go in the direction that they want it to go. So I'm not at all suggesting people shouldn't be held accountable for what they're doing, but I am saying that if we look at how they are being manipulated, it's really important to understand that, because we can't get through to people if we don't accept and understand how this is working.
Yeah, that part there, understanding how it's working is critically important. And you know, Sarah, we know that a lot of people hear this message and say, you know, probably two things. You know, we're beating up on the Dems. We're not beating up on the Dems. I'm always criticizing in an encouraging way about what we can do better, how we have to make sure that in this fight, and this is why the protests are so important and why we have to be mindful. The protests aren't just the ones that are in the streets. It's the phone calls. It's the letters. It's reaching out to congressional and Senate, House and Senate leaders and state representatives to say that this is unacceptable, and having the courage, or having the energy and the courage to do that so that it's meaningful. And we're showing signs of it in many of the court cases that have gone forward. So, you know, we know that we've got work to do, and I think that the people who are recognizing that are out there leading, they're out there speaking, they're out there yelling, and I'm talking about people that are elected officials. To the conversation that you and I are talking about as well, but I can't not say what a crazy a week, huh? I mean, from right. This is just what really I'm sure kind of frustrated you is that this is happening at a time when it doesn't have to be happening. We could be going in a different direction right now. We should be going in a different direction right now. And that's why we have to continue to galvanize and have these conversations to make sure that people are plugged in and people are aware and doing what they can do to continue to move us forward.
Yeah, I would like just to say that what we're seeing in Los Angeles, for example, and the media is already calling these what's happening there riots, but it started off as largely peaceful protests against really brutal and inappropriate immigration raids. So I just want to make that clear before I sign off for the day. And what we're seeing is authoritarianism. This is how they're, you know, consolidating power. They're sending a message to other people not to protest them. And it also aligns with what they said they were going to do in Project 2025. So
yeah, it does.
Authoritarians always demonize immigrants. This is nothing new. And I also want to say that Donald Trump is calling immigrants criminals, but he is actually a convicted felon. And he calls them rapists, but a jury found him liable in civil court for sexual assault. And so that's a lot of projection coming from him, but it works on his base. If we're going to deport people who have done those things, let's start with him and Elon Musk.
And those who are around him.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow, Sarah, great to have you on this morning. I know that there'll be a lot of people that have yays and nays for what you and I had to say this morning, but we welcome it because that's how we keep moving this thing forward. So thanks for being with us. Always great to have you on the show, and thank you for your wonderful articles that you post every day. And I've been fortunate to use many of them in part of my conversation. So thanks for all the work you do, Sarah.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you for having me on. Have a great day.
I will. Thanks, Sarah, for being with us. Have a great day. Bye now.
Bye.
Sarah Jones, guys, PoliticusUSA. Check out her work. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll probably grab a call or two, and then we'll have our guest on, 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views on the Credo mobile phone and text line, and we'll be right back.
When it comes to banking, you need a bank you can trust. A bank with a rock-solid reputation and the highest integrity. A bank that gives you the attention and respect you deserve.
ABOC first opened its doors in downtown Chicago in 1922, and we've made our name on deep expertise, best-in-class service, and a strong commitment to our customers. We know the Chicago business market inside and out and can help you craft the perfect banking solution, no matter what type of business you're in.
And if you're looking for a banking partner for your labor union, we can bring the type of expertise that only comes from a bank that was founded by labor unions and still has union employees and shareholders to this day.
Whether you need a deposit account, loan, trust services, or investment management, ABOC has you covered. Let's work together to manage your finances today while planning for a better tomorrow. ABOC, a bank built on a strong foundation.
Visit aboc.com to learn more. Member FDIC.
This is WCPT telling you how you can shop blue. Donald Trump has implemented a barbaric anti-immigration policy with mass deportations and having ICE agents showing up unannounced at people's homes, workplaces, and anywhere they suspect, separating families, ruining lives, and deporting people without any due process. But one company is taking a stand against Donald Trump. Greyhound Bus Lines has implemented a no warrant, no boarding policy. This prohibits ICE agents to enter the vehicle without a warrant. Greyhound Bus says they want to guarantee the rights and civil liberties of their passengers. Greyhound Bus is the largest inner-city bus system in the U.S., with over 1,600 destinations. Maybe this will lead to more companies stepping up like Greyhound is. This has been WCPT telling you how you can shop blue.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, we'll see a mixture of clouds and sunshine developing, a chance for some scattered afternoon showers and storms with highs in the mid-70s. Then for tonight, any lingering isolated showers or storms ending early on, a low of 53. For Tuesday, sunny to partly cloudy, upper 70s for highs, and then heating up on your Wednesday, full-on sunshine, a high of 88. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently 58 degrees.
You're listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Hey, progressives and everybody else. Welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Great to have Sarah on with us this morning. And like I said, we're going to always touch that third rail when it comes to how we navigate going forward. And there's so many pieces to this conversation around what has to happen for Dems to win elections in the future. I think it starts, as I've said before, with us continuing to win local, continuing to be involved in local organizations and events, talking with our locally elected officials, and working our way up the ladder at the same time. And there's work to be done, guys. This is I'm not taking this lightly. It also requires that we spend time talking to our folks that are nationally elected, our congressional and both House and Senate members, calling them, being involved and letting them know that we're involved and we're watching what they're doing. And then one of the other pieces is how we digest what comes from the mainstream media. We have to be careful in what we digest from them, because I think that they're I've said this for so many times, part of the problem is their lack of willingness to do the thing that is what I think is lacking right now across the board in all forms of mainstream media and the that are print, that are electronic, and all the rest. And that's to tell the truth about Donald Trump. They have not done that. They've given him so much space and so much opportunity for the last decade now, since he came down that escalator, and they've never held him accountable. They really haven't. Not even when it was obvious that he needed to be held accountable on some very obvious things. They even tried to parse the convictions to talk about the juries and talk about was it fair and the media keeps falling for it because of one reason. And you can argue with me about this all you want. It's because of ratings. They knew that they could prop up Donald Trump and it would be good for their ratings. Les Moonves said it after the 2016 election, and it's held true. All right, as we keep moving forward, and thanks again to Sarah Jones for being with us this morning. Let's we've been able to connect with an organization earlier this year called Leaving MAGA, and that organization was started by a gentleman who left MAGA and decided to branch out and create an opportunity, a space, or as I've called it, a bridge for people to find their way away from MAGA. And that's Rich Logis, who is one of the founders of Leaving MAGA, who's with us this morning. So, Rich, good morning and welcome to the show. Might have a little bit.
Hey, Rich.
Okay. Yeah, there's a little bit of background humming or noise. I don't know what that is, but just if you can adjust that, if you got your window open, if you're in your car or whatever. With us this morning, also as a guest in our short segment this morning, James Hicks, who is one of the folks that has been part of the I guess, benefactors of what Rich has created, and that's Leaving MAGA. James, welcome to the show as well.
Nice.
Are you there? I couldn't quite hear you.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you better now. Just make sure you're stable and you're sitting someplace where you're not moving around, because we got both of you on the line and me, so I don't want to have the background noise take away from the value of the conversation. Rich, welcome to the show. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for inviting James to be on with us. Take a hot minute just to tell us a little bit about, for those who haven't heard of you before or familiar with the organization, about Leaving MAGA, why you started it. Give us the 30-second drill.
Sure, and thanks as always, Rich, for having us on. I always look forward to these monthly visits with you. We founded Leaving MAGA as a new community, as a new destination for people after they leave MAGA. We are also a community for people who might be having doubts and maybe some remorse, and they're not entirely sure how to process that. And we provide them the support needed. I'm happy to report that we're keeping a winning streak, Rich, alive. As the book of Isaiah says, bring good news to the afflicted. Since my last visit with you, we have added more testimonials of people who left and are now new members of our organization and our community. People can read those stories at leavingmaga.org. So this is yet another month has gone by, Rich, where there are more people who have decided that after they left, they wanted to tell their stories publicly. And I also want listeners to know that we're in conversation with others who are having doubts, and we're working with them to possibly tell their stories publicly. And these are people who voted for Trump in 2024. So I do believe that the fever is breaking for some. We just have to be there for those after if they come to the decision and conclusion that they want to leave. We need to be a welcoming place for them, and that's what we built.
Well, and I appreciate that the courage, I guess you could say, that it's, as I said to you before, that it takes to leave and to reconnect with something. And in this case, you had to build what you were reconnecting to, which is okay as well, because it's been a bridge for people who have left. I'm pretty hardcore on some things, and one of them is, and I've said this before, how in the blank could someone vote for him in the first place? We've all talked about that and understand it in so many different ways. But I also recognize in this time that we're in to change and shift where we have to go, that part of the challenge is going to be the people who are leaving MAGA, who have recognized, let's just go back to this 2024 election, how their lives have immediately been impacted, and that if we, in your case, Rich, can create a space for them to kind of, come back to the light, if you will, that's going to be better for all of us, because the more people that do come out and break, as you use your phrase, are breaking from the fever, that's better for us as a country, as a society. So we're hopeful that there's more and more people that find their way, and that if they do, that they can use your organization as a bridge to get to that other side. James, welcome to the show. And as what Rich and I have been doing these last few months is, when we've had a guest on, we've tried to take a couple of minutes and have you share with us how you got there, and what was that moment when you said, it's time to change, I've got to leave this, I've got to go in a different direction.
Yeah. I think that my story is
really part of what happens with segregation in America. It's like the Brown versus Board of Education. Being someone who got into MAGA as a Black American and got into conservatism as a Black American, I was like those kids with the black and white dolls and choosing that white doll because I came from a town that was segregated where Black people went to public school, white people went to private school. And I didn't really understand what it was that was going on in the broader world. I was also disconnected from my history because it just seemed like they must have done something right. There must be something else going on. And as I was trying to connect and understand, I ended up into like conservatism, and ultimately I ended up finding myself supporting people who were suppressing and oppressing my people for generations.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting, and I know what you mean by that. You were drawn to something based on what you just said that you may not have been fully informed of. You may have been susceptible to mistruths or distruths about your own community, our own community, and the next thing you knew, you were down this rabbit hole of believing that those who were of that community, of that predominantly white community, were better. They were right about things, and that for some reason the ills that you were suffering were of your own making. It was because you weren't as good as they were. And so it sounds like it was easy to then fall into the clutches of what that would represent. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
And you're not the only person. You're not the only person of color that's had that happen to them. And I think that one of the challenges right now in the country when it comes to culture, particularly when it comes to Black and brown people in the country, is that many people are fighting to make sure that the history is protected and made aware, and there are others who are saying that it doesn't matter. And when you start to hear that more and more, that it doesn't matter, it's easy to slip to the other side and suddenly find yourself caught up in that craziness. So James, now that you've, to Rich's point, you've kind of, made your way away from MAGA and you're seeing the light differently. What are you trying to do to help others who may be, whether they be African American or other persons of color or not, make sure that they are plugged in and are aware that there is an opportunity to move away from some of this craziness that you get drawn into?
Yeah. So starting with the 2024 election, I was doing campaigning. I was doing phone calls, and now that all of that part is over, I've been focusing on mostly online, spreading the message on how some of that religious conservatism really makes us as a community vulnerable to believing that aligning ourselves with people who might have given us this religious conservatism to hurt ourselves.
Yeah, that's a tricky one because, when you start talking about people's religion, they get a little guarded and protective, and when you start to call out things that come from religion or how people implement their belief about religion, you can definitely be on the third rail of getting people angry at you. So it does take some courage in that space. James, as you go forward and as you are trying to have an impact and be a voice for people, what are some of the things that on a day-to-day basis you think about and say, okay, here's what I can do, here's how I can try to have an impact when I'm out and about and when I'm encountering different people?
Well, one of the things is that with one thing with work, for instance, is that when coming into this election with customers, I got really scared being in the South, and I was originally from Arkansas. I was just hearing just the most vile thing, and so I shrunk away from my profession. And so after election, I decided that, hey, I'm going to go back into business, and I'm going to be loud as a business professional who is loud about his liberal ideas. And I just think that because of all of the way that we had to appease people in our South calls, things like that, that I just was feeding off so much of myself and so much of the interest of my community that I just want to be loud from here out.
You want to make some noise. I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Well, James, I will say this to you, and then I'm gonna kind of wrap up with Rich in our brief segment this morning. I'm proud that you were able to, quote, see the light, and I'm proud that you've been able to say, I'm going to be loud. Stay loud, young man. Stay loud. Stay loud. Don't let anybody tell you to damp down your voice. You may be. It's better to be loud and to speak your voice than it is to be quiet and not be heard. Because you can't get back not speaking up about something. You can at least know in your heart that you fought forward and that you were out there trying to make sure that your voice was going to impact people's lives in a positive way. So I applaud you for that, and stay in the fight. I promise you it'll benefit you in the short run and in the long run. So thank you, James Hicks, for taking some time to be with us this morning.
Thank you. Like when I left in 2020, I that was my never again moment. So I've just been like, I got to tell this because this cannot be repeated over and over again.
Yeah, good for you. And that's something to be proud of. Rich, as we wrap up, I want to ask you a question because on our previous guest we had, and thank you for having James on this morning. We, before you were on, we were talking with Sarah Jones of PoliticusUSA. And one of the words that she was careful to use, but I knew that I was going to have you on, so I wanted to kind of get your take on this. She said that she's cautious of using the word brainwashing as it relates to those who have been drawn to a particular message in these last 10 years, that being the Trump message, the MAGA message. And I sort of added to that a little bit about the media. Do you think, or what are your thoughts, not to put words in your mouth, about this word brainwashing as someone that's part of MAGA, that left and that has created a bridge for those who are trying to leave?
Yeah, I share her ambivalence about referencing and framing it that way, just as I do with referring to MAGA as a cult. I don't defend Rich Mai or anyone's ignorance, but I think it's important for listeners to remember that all of us are susceptible to being influenced. And even though, in this case, James and I, for example, we took different paths to ingratiate ourselves into MAGA, what we were both looking for was something communal. There's a video at our site, leavingmaga.org, of James. There's a written testimonial. And in that video, there's a photograph of James with a Confederate flag wristband. So the gravitational pull of wanting to be in a community is real, and it's strong. And I think all of us are vulnerable to having our natural fears and concerns exploited and manipulated. And that's what Trump and the Republican Party have done very successfully. So I think I think Sarah's reticence is one that we should definitely lead, and I think she's is correct in having reservations about using that term brainwashing.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, it's a clinical term. I mean, it's a word that we have to be mindful of. I think we also have to recognize that the word that I like that you just used is the word susceptible. So many people are susceptible when there is something in their lives any of us that's not whole, to be drawn into a situation to fill that void. And I think one of our listeners that sent a text earlier sent this to me. She said that sometimes people are in a bad relationship and they can't get out of it, and the fear of not being in that relationship is more powerful than the fear of being in the relationship. And so that is not to take away anything or any disrespect for someone that's been in a bad relationship. We all have been in something of that. You guys were in a very, very bad relationship and fortunately have been able to find your way out of it. So again, James, thanks for taking a moment to be with us this morning. And Rich as well, thanks for your hard work in putting together this organization and keeping it strong and being able to attract more and more people to break from the fever. You probably got a lot of wet towels to help people out that are breaking from that fever.
Well, it is, Rich. To your point, sometimes it's not that it's easy, but we're looking to make it easier for people to leave, because even when someone knows they should leave, if they don't have somewhere to go, it makes it less likely for them to leave, and there's a good chance they'll stay. So that's why we created this exit ramp.
Got it. And that's what's applauded. So, Rich, good to have you on our little monthly get together to talk about this and to have a guest on that's made it across the bridge. We'll have you back again in the next few weeks, probably in July as we do. And thank you again for being with us. Keep up the good work, man. Keep me posted as to what's going on and things that you're getting done. Okay.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Rich. Appreciate it.
Thanks to both of you for being on this morning. Have a great week this week.
Yes.
All right.
You too.
Bye-bye. Yeah, guy. I mean, that word is a tough word to lay in anybody's lap, so we have to be mindful of it. But it doesn't take away the responsibility to still deal with the issue of folks that have been drawn to that craziness. Devin, let's grab a quick call, and then I've got some wrap-up comments. Let's go to Maria. Hey, Maria, sorry we couldn't get you on earlier. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. I was listening to the conversation you just had with the gentleman, and I think that's great work. I was listening to the previous speaker, guest, and something just really hit me. She said something about that they are good people, and it just really hit me hard, because I thought my family members who are Trumpers are good people.
Right.
And to have them turn to someone who just promotes hate and racism and homophobia, to me, that just wipes out whatever goodness that they have.
Maria, that is such a powerful statement. Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Right. I felt betrayed. I felt so betrayed. So I don't see them in the same light anymore, because they had a kernel of hate. Whatever fear they had, whatever it was, they chose. They made a choice. When this man won the election, it triggered my PTSD. I had a horrible childhood, okay? I had a lot of stuff happen, and that man represents a lot of what happened, okay? And that they actually elected a 34 felony convicted, a convicted felon, where he didn't get punished for anything. And that was the same situation in my case. The person that harmed me never got prosecuted or paid for his crimes. And it really triggered me to hear when she said they're good people. It got wiped out. It got wiped out. I don't see them as good people.
Well, I'm glad that she said it, because that's a trigger that should probably be there. And I say that in a positive way. Here's what I mean. That trigger tells us that we have to make sure that just because they represent themselves in this case, as good people, or there are parts of them that are good. And Rich, even the guy, Rich that was just on, Rich Logis, said a version of this. We still have to make sure that what they do is good. They can be representing themselves as good people, but what they do, is it good? And so the vote, to your point, for this 34-time convicted felon and 2-time adjudicated sexual assaulter, that's not good behavior. So the people who voted for that made a decision to vote for something that wasn't good. And I can appreciate where you're coming from in that. So I'm glad you called, Maria. Get it out here as best you can. You can call back again. I know we're running short on time today. And when you hear something that doesn't quite match up with where you are, don't hesitate to give us a call. We got the shoulders to handle it. So I appreciate you reaching out to us this morning. We're here for you, Maria. We don't always get it perfectly, but we always try to do the best we can to get it right.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks, Maria, for calling, and thanks for your contribution.
You're welcome.
Have a good day. Bye now. Guys, I guess I could say we ran out of time, but not really. I want to give a quick shout out. I almost forgot to hit this earlier. A shout out to Coco Gauff for winning the French Open. And just a lot of pride in her victory. So shout out to her, if you're a tennis fan or not. And a shout out to you guys, as always. We say it because we mean it. Take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
Are you tired of talking to yourself? We can get you an audience on the radio. You can produce and host your own radio show on one of our 2 stations. Please call 773-792-1121. That's 773-792-1121 and ask for Mark. Limited space available.
Still struggling with gas, bloat, constipation, nausea, or diarrhea? Have you tried eliminating foods but felt no change? It's time to call the tummy whisperer, Renee Barish at Digestive Health Solutions. Renee uses targeted testing to reveal exactly what's happening in your gut. Gut bacteria plays a key role in all your body functions, from cardiovascular regulation to brain function. When the gut is imbalanced, you may experience symptoms that extend beyond the gut, such as anxiety, skin issues, poor sleep, or increased risk for disease. Digestive Health Solution uses advanced testing to identify harmful microbes and evaluate the overall balance of the gut ecosystem. Get insights into your health, digestion, and how your microbiome affects all aspects of your body. Stop suffering. Call Renee now at 847-207-2034 or visit thetummywhisperer.com. That number is 847-207-2034. Let's get you feeling better. Well, June is Pride Month, and all of us who believe in freedom and equality are speaking out for LGBTQ plus rights. But did you know there's a way to raise your voice for equality every month? In